Welcome to the Deal Champs podcast. I'm your co-host, Stratton Brown, aka Strat Daddy. Thank you guys so much for tuning in today. We have an awesome guest on today, Mr. Erik Latsha. Real quick, what the Deal Champs is, where we want to help you guys get to the next level. All these podcasts, it's really selfish because we want you to take everything we're going to learn from Erik and implement it in your business. We've had amazing guests on, real entrepreneurs, people who are doing real deals. Erik is another one of those people. If you are on the podcast app or if you're on social or whatever on YouTube, go hit that like and subscribe button. Go give us a 5-star review. We do all this for free to help you guys make more money. Bro, Erik is so awesome. 154 deals in a year, which is pretty crazy. He's an amazing dude, a hell of a salesman. I know that for sure. And then I'll do some quick introductions. My name is Stratton Brown again. I am AKA Mr. Strat Daddy. I don't have a cool name like the Master of Hair or Captain America. We have a 7-figure real estate portfolio. We own a virtual assistant company, and we show people how to get their first deal wholesaling houses. We have the Captain of Hair, Mr. Jason Pritchard.
No hair today. Wore the hat. It's been a busy day, guys, so I didn't get to get dressed up today for the pod. Thank you guys for coming on. Erik, I appreciate you, brother, for joining us on the podcast. A little bit about me. I'm Jason Pritchard. I'm your other co-host. I got into real estate full-time in 2014. Since then, we have flipped and wholesaled close to 400 deals. We've got a rental portfolio just north of 100 units, all based in Central California. And our mission and my goal with the podcast is to try to transfer as many of the things that I have learned and we've learned over the years to you guys watching. Real estate has fundamentally changed my life, and I'm really, really excited today to get Erik on the pod. He's a killer from his market, and he has some really, really good insights on the things that he's doing, does a lot of high volume. I met him in one of my masterminds, so this is one that I'm especially excited for. Dean, I'll pass it over to you, and then we'll get Erik on and get this thing going, man.
What's up, guys? Dean Rogers, you're the co-host here. I transitioned from the NFL to corporate to then real estate. Been investing in real estate a decade now in Central California. I'm just about to kiss 600 deals, very, very close. Wholesales, flips, rental properties, have a rental portfolio, almost $10 million. Coaching students how to get started and create successful businesses themselves. You guys can always connect with me at deanrogers.com. Let's go.
And then we have Mr. Erik Latsha, bro. I don't have a nickname for you, but my man likes to go hard. We've had some good times in that.
I know. I'm slacking. You guys got all your Instagram handles and everything on here. I wish I would have been on top of that. But I'm Erik Latsha. I own a real estate investment company in Pennsylvania. We do focused mostly wholesale for most of it. We've gotten into some flips. My biggest regret is probably not getting into more of the rental side of it, like Jason and them have had. Worried about the cash flow of the business and haven't focused enough there. But we do about 50% of our 40 to 50% of our business is wholesale. About another 20 to 25% is novations. And then about another 25% is flips now. So staying busy, try to average about 12 to 16 deals a month and keep it rocking and rolling.
You get some PA love there. Go Eagles.
Yeah, no, go Eagles.
Yeah. Here we go. Bird gang's out.
Yeah,
that's what I like to see.
Where did you become such a damn good salesman?
Man, I don't know. I kind of just
you just been born with a mouthpiece?
Yeah, I mean, I would say, you know, I remember when I was 19, I worked at Harrisburg Hyundai and started there. Third day there. First month I was there, I outsold everybody that was there on cars that I knew nothing about. I still know nothing about vehicles. And got my first check and was like, oh, wow, this is amazing, and moved to the beach. It was just something I like to talk. I enjoy people and figuring out what they need, and just kind of has worked into the restaurant business for a while, fixing problems in that situation, and then transitioned to real estate into working with people and figuring stuff out.
Got a question. So you're in Pennsylvania. Tell me what a typical deal looks like. 154 deals is a lot of volume.
Yeah.
What does a typical deal look like? What kind of price points? What kind of work needs to be done to them? Tell us a little bit what that looks like.
Yeah. So our price points are probably pretty different from yours, if I had to guess. We operate in about 6 different counties around here and a little bit in Northern Maryland. But I would say that in general, county to county, you're looking at a median of somewhere between $200,000 to $300,000 ARVs. It bounces around depending on the county and school district, but it probably around there. Average house that we're trying to deal with will fall within that. Like, I don't really try to stretch outside of what the normal demographic is purchasing here. So if we can, city properties are much cheaper here. Like in most places, we don't have a really developed big city. Baltimore would be the closest to us, to about an hour away, and then Philly's about an hour and a half. So Lancaster, they go for a lot higher, but most of the other cities, Harrisburg, which is the capital, still doesn't really have like a really nice area that brings in a lot of cash. School districts are a little bit tougher there, and those deals look like renovated. Some of them, you're lucky if you can get 120 grand. Yeah. So
are you buying those things dirt cheap, dude? Because like we've gone into those markets where like they can't pay me to buy a house.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much where we're at with it. I would say, when we're buying stuff like that, it's somewhere between 5 to 25 grand. Depending on what, but most of those things we're wholesaling. We're not really doing any work. There's some people that do. They're great rentals. They're phenomenal rentals, which I should have turned into myself, but sometimes you got to put 40 grand into them, and they're worth what you have, 75, 79 grand. Yeah. What's up?
Yeah. So, contrary to belief, in Central California, where the 3 of us do our primary investing, it's actually exact same prices. ARVs,
Really?
200, 300,000. It's a little secret honey hole in Central California, where, hey, that's just what the prices are. And that's the type of houses that there are. And that's the type of incomes that are available in those areas. So it's very similar. But what does your team look like to be able to do those kind of deals? What does your team look like?
There you are. We got you back.
Yeah. Okay. You guys lost him too.
No, I was listening. I was listening. I don't know. I guess
He was focusing. It was the version of him closing his eyes.
My iPad must be attached to my iPhone, so I had to put it on airplane mode over there so I wouldn't get any more calls.
Yeah. So I was saying, what does your team look like to be able to do those kind of deals?
So it's me. Then I have my COO, director of administration, administrative assistant for her, which my director of administration is similar to transaction coordinator, but she handles a lot of stuff outside of just transactions. She's handling a lot of my HR stuff, different things like that within the business, QuickBooks, all that. So I have one, probably should have 2 more. Had one for a little while, acquisitions agents. I should probably have 3. We definitely leave some deals on the table because he's been with me for 3 years. And
did you say you have 1?
Yes. So I had another one, but the problem is, and what I'm working on, and he knows this, so I'm not talking trash, is that he's a very competitive individual, which I think you need in that position. But he kind of runs over people sometimes when we bring him in, and he's on his 3rd Lambo, so he has a
hell yeah.
So that's just what that's a driver for him, and he's a car guy, so it's one of those things that he's just had his first kid though, so he's finally
no more Lambo.
Well, yeah, that's what I said, but he still has it, and but he's seeing that that grind and moving. He needs people to be able to fill in so he can be a true acquisitions manager and handle the sales department instead of just running and grinding everything. But he's a beast. He's an absolute.
What do you mean he runs over people, bro? Like, is he just super straightforward to where he burns people out because he
throwing
expects
elbows?
what he does? Yeah.
Yeah. It's hard to distribute leads in a situation where, you have a newer acquisitions agent that's going to go out and buy a property for a $20,000 discount, and he's going to buy it for 35. So it's just a different, he knows what he's doing. He played, and that's in his mind because he was here 3 years ago and there was 4 of us at that point. In his mind, it was like, that's money out of his pocket. And so trying to build a sales department around that, you really have to, which I'm working with him now is really teaching him to lead and how that can eventually make him more money on the back end.
Yeah.
And build a structure out that makes sense. And as we've moved people in, it's a little bit of a grind for them to get started because the pay is so low and they see him making, $25,000 to $40,000 a month. And like, it sometimes can be defeating when you're like trying to get your 1 or 2 deals up there and he's out there just going
Swinging.
to 12 appointments and locking up at 35-40%. So it's
and there's a trick with that, dude. And I've learned because I've managed large teams that with your high performers to get them to advance to the next level, because there's only so much we can do as your one-man army, right? But the trick is, how do I teach that person to transfer the things and download those things he has to like 5 or 6 other people, because that's what really gets his income to skyrocket. But then it takes away from him being able to do 10 or 12 deals a month or however, because you guys are doing some crazy volume, right? So not an easy thing to accomplish, especially as a business owner, to get especially when it sounds like he's hard charging and driven, man. So I know that's a challenge.
He's a go-getter. And, I try to explain to him, hey man, like the way that I brought you in and, spent the first 60 days with you, like going to appointments, listen, I mean, he's a robot of like we say very similar things, handle objections. Like I have full trust in his ability to navigate those deals and empower him to make decisions at this point on a lot of that stuff. So for me, it's a little bit of a struggle for us as we've gone through different acquisitions agents at different points. But it would definitely put us in a position to attack more deals that like, that individual also thinks he can diagnose a deal before he goes to the appointment sometimes. And we're all belly to belly. So I think that it would give us the ability to lock up more deals because we would have multiple people. And sometimes I tell them all the time, like when I was an acquisitions agent, out of every 10 deals that I thought wasn't going to be a deal, because I was as good as what I was, not to pat myself on the back, but I could turn one of those no's that I thought was for sure a no into a yes. And if you can add 12 of them a year or, 24 of them a year over a month period, it's a game changer for him and the business. So
I'm curious. So, our business in Central California does 100 deals a year. Our average profit last year was $21,000. This year we're around $30,000. I'm curious, you're doing even more volume. What does your business look like? What does an average deal look like for wholesale, for flips, for novations? What do those profits look like?
So there's a little bit of everything. Our Novation deals probably average around 24 to 26, depending on what quarter we're looking back on it. But our goal per wholesale deal is 17.5. And some of that stuff also comes from, we'll dispo other deals for other companies in the area. My dispositions agent works with some investors in the area. Actually, a few of them are part of the mastermind, where we'll take on, some lower deals that we didn't have to pay anything for lead generation on. And deal with that and handle those things. And again, same way with the Novation process for us. We have some people in the area that are capable of locking up the deal, but the white glove service that's involved in so many different people touching that deal to get it to the settlement table and not causing headaches. They just don't have a team that's running at the same pace as we are when it comes to those transactions. So we'll handle those for them as well. So, I mean, we do some retail transactions, you know, and I mean, if there's a way for you to sell your house, we want to be able to be a one-stop shop option. So, you know, we have the opportunity, if it's a deal where somebody's stuck on a number, bought the house a year ago, there's little to no equity in it. Like, let's get our listing agent out there and lock that up. And, you know, even if it's $2,000 that we're getting kicked back from that deal, it's, you know, you do that 5 times a month, it's a transaction.
Yes, sir.
So there's just different ways. Now, we don't really count those in our deal flow, the retail stuff, but the overall would be wholesale novations and flips. And I mean, honestly, my construction, we've gotten started in the flips this past year and a half. Some of them have been really good, and some of them we suck at construction. So it's a department I've tried to lay heavy on, and we've lost money on a couple deals. So which is something I never had to deal with before. Because I was, you know, novations and wholesales was not a 30K hit to the, so, you know, it's different. It's a little bit roll of the dice, but the profits on the backside when we do it the right way and hit budgets and timelines are the ability to cherry pick from what is already, you know, 15 deals a month, and we flip a couple that we want to do and are going to make the most profit.
I heard you say at the beginning, bro, that you do all of these belly to belly, which I feel like is different than what has been kind of the shift in our industry, right? Especially like after COVID, I think myself included, we started doing more stuff virtually. And you're one of the few people, especially at the volume that you're doing, right? Because it's one thing to be all in person, but to do 150 deals with all belly to belly in-person appointments, right? That's a lot of KPIs to juggle. That's a lot of different things going on. It's a lot on your one acquisitions guy. So why do you guys choose to focus more on that in-person strategy to lock your contacts up versus, you know, doing more virtual?
I mean, I've taken a peek at virtual lately. I can't lie about that. But not for my market.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't want to, like, we'll travel anywhere within about an hour to an hour and a half between, you know, our outbound group and acquisitions assistants and our lead manager. We try to set that up in a way that they can navigate. Yes. What's up, man?
I was, you know, keep going. I got something after this.
Okay. But between them, we try to set it up in a way that makes sense. Like, we're not driving, you know, an hour and a half each way, could be 3 hours. So we're trying to set appointments up in a way that makes sense for our acquisitions agent to do the most with his time. But I mean, if you really want to know the truth, I'll buy a house at least $10,000 cheaper than anybody on the phone, belly to belly. And now, granted, if somebody wants to give their house away, or not give it away, but their number's not going to matter, and they're giving you their lowest number. But I feel like there's too many things and too many factors that go into navigating a transaction to get the deepest discount that are truly overcoming objections while reading people's body language, having conversations with somebody, building trust in you, as, you know, figuring out, you know, hey, I really need to sign. I've had, I don't know how many phone conversations with individuals where it's very surface level a lot of times. They give you the basics of what's going on, but it's not deep enough. It's really tough to paint the next picture because you haven't connected on being Penn State fans, or they don't know that I'm a wrestling coach, or, you know, or we're not talking, they don't see, you know, we're not talking about our kids and the grandkids, and we're not having those conversations that really figure out where somebody wants to be. And it's not that. It's just different. I don't know how to put it, but I can tell you that it is far and few between that people are locking up $50,000 to $100,000 wholesale deals on the phone, where I can tell you, you know, we did at least 6 of those last year. that were over $50,000 wholesale transactions that I don't believe would have ever got there over a phone conversation, because at the end of the day, if you have somebody on the phone that can make 30 grand, they're going to make 30 grand. It's the easy way out. If somebody tells you they're going to take 150 and your acquisitions agent comes back with 150, they did something wrong. Like, that's that. At the end of the day, they didn't build the relationship to at least get an extra $10,000 to $15,000 there and explain why. Like, It's not that we're just trying to lowball and no, explain why that comes in, explain closing costs, and have them it's just a different feel. And for me, at the end of the day, if it's outside of my market, more than willing to wholesale and buy virtually. It's something I've been looking into. But in my market, I'd rather, what's our demographic? 60 plus with non-owner occupants. I mean, everybody knows what our demographic of an individual that wants a stress-free sale, that has deferred maintenance on their or just wants to not deal with showings. I mean, that person wants to shake your hand and looking dry. So, I mean, it's a mentality of building a relationship where a handshake means something. It's just different.
I agree. 100%. The body language thing is huge. I think that's something that I haven't heard anybody else bring up seriously and dive into in depth here. I think being able to read and judge body language, and I think the older sellers especially do appreciate. We went full virtual after COVID and kind of used that as a crutch in our business. And we've recently come back and started doing more belly to belly. We're probably 50-50 now. And we've seen an increase in deal flow, and in what you said specifically, you're able to just negotiate better deals. So I'm a big proponent of it too. It makes sense.
And even more importantly, for me, I hate walking out of there sending a DocuSign contract.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like at the end of the day, how many contracts do you I go to groups and masterminds and I'll be like, how did you write 100 contracts in a month? Like, what do you mean you sent 100 contracts in a month? Like, because if I write 35 contracts, there's 30 deals there. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not waiting on you to sign. I'm not trying. I got 2 pictures today from my acquisitions agent, sitting in a table, taking a picture, filling out the contract right there, right then. And for someone to make those decisions about something that means a lot to them. I mean, it might be one of the biggest decisions they ever make in their life. You know what I mean? They're selling a house. So to do that transactionally, it doesn't make me feel good. I feel like there's more to be had there on the bone.
1 minute, Dino. What are you guys qualifying as a lead to send your dude out for an hour and a half? Right. I mean, because even with some of our virtual stuff, sometimes our people get on the phone and like, man, this was a waste of our time.
Sure.
And then we got to coach people up and everything else.
Yes. It happens. I mean, I can't say that I have that conversation with he'll be like, nobody showed up. I mean, we have a confirmation process and different things like that, but at the end of the day, it happens. What do we consider a lead?
Something that you're going to go out there. It is worth our time to head out there.
If I had 3 acquisitions agents, it would be if they're selling a house. If you want to know, if they're selling a house, if they have some type of motivation, like if you hit 2 of the 4 pillars, I'm in. Like there's got to be because here's my philosophy on it. If there's motivation and price, or motivation and anything that matches up there, there's a lot more to that story than they're willing to tell you over the phone. And that is why I feel like, virtual contracts there's just more communication, takes more phone calls, where, I tell my agents and anybody that's ever worked for us is, hey, you are courting them. You are dating them to the table. You need to be available for, it's the whole process from original time we answer that phone to the table has to be the same customer service, same client relationship, same trust. it's a very personal business personal business in my opinion. And the deeper you can go and the more people are willing to trust you and work with you, the more problems you're going to be able to solve in the process of just not buying their house. There's a reason. And if you can figure that out and help them get there, they don't have that pushback when you're making money at the end, because they know that the folks, hey, I wanted to get you in that other property. We needed to do this. I paid in advance for the tax sale so we could get you paid, and the tax sale was next week. Just different things where you're navigating that and making sure that they are knowing where you're at. But on the distance part, if they have a house and they meet 2 points of motivation, I want to get there. If it's something that's crazy, or they're just kind of calling to give us random information or whatever it is, we do our due diligence in finding out owners and tax records like anybody else would. But if it's close and my acquisitions agent says, hey, this is an hour and a half away, this sounds like a really weird appointment. These notes don't really make sense. We haven't done a confirmation call. They haven't answered 4 times. You want to give them I'll be like, hey, that's probably not worth our time right now. And let's focus on, doing other things that we need to do to meet. But if we can go there, we can go there. And I think there's always a reason they're calling.
You're muted.
You're muted, Dean.
Might help to take that off. So I got 2 questions from the audience here, which I've been dying to know too. Question is from Nico: what is your best lead source so far? And Xavier says, what's the lead gen strategy? So tell us about your leads. How you putting leads into your acquisition manager's hands, and what are your favorite ones?
Oh man, most productive for us would be definitely, without a shadow of a doubt, direct mail. We've just started jumping into the PPC SEO world pretty heavily. I think we've done it before, and I was always a little bit hesitant on really dropping big dollars on it. And I think I was very short-sighted in that idea of what that return needed to look like, and scared to do that. But direct mail is definitely our biggest. We do some outbound. Outbound, as everybody knows, has kind of been a struggle across the board, I think, between texting and outbound calling. But I also feel that part of that is because it's not personal. If I was willing to have 4 or 5 outbound texters and callers in-house that were part of my culture, within the business, and build relationships on the phone, I think it might be better. But I think that we lose a lot of people in the basic conversation to where it comes over to my team. Otherwise, I think it would probably be better. But I'm a little scared to hire 5 people to sit on the phones all day.
I like this follow-up for you. What's the postcard look like? Share all the secrets. Tell us.
Actually, we've been changing it here and there. We right now, I think, are using the checks.
That's what we're using too.
Check
letters hot right now, dude. We're getting a lot of calls coming from that check letter. People think it's like an actual offer. It's crazy. Like there's an actual check that you can cash with that thing. It's
definitely been. I just don't know if it was a big jump. I feel like when it first maybe went out, it was a big jump. Just a quick response. People opened it a few more times than what they were used to. Just throwing a postcard away. But mostly we've done postcards. I mean, I can definitely, I don't have it right on me right now, but I can definitely share it to a link somewhere here if you want to see the postcard.
Who are you using to fulfill, Eric? Is it Yellow Letter or is it somebody else?
Yeah, so we've used, so a lot of our mail goes through Investor Machine.
Okay, got it.
So, we use them for our mail side of things, outside of things that we're sending by ourselves, for other data lists that we've collected. But I believe we switched to Direct One. I know that they use, I think they use both. Just depends on where you're located around the country and what makes the best drop times. I mean, Yellow Letter's just completely across the country for us, and Direct One, we have a guy right here, like on the East Coast. But we've used different things. Maybe it is through them. Again, I apologize. It's not something that I really dive into as much anymore. If it's not working, I'll reach out to my COO and probably dig a little deeper. But outside of that, it's more through them on the operations side that they're making decisions on what, because I really don't care what mail company it comes through.
Yeah.
That's not, but it is what it is. As long as it's dropping, it's dropping. We've done TV, hard to measure ROI on that. We've talked about billboards lately. I'm in a pretty small market overall when it really comes to, we have 789,000 parcels in the surrounding counties. So that's just not a ton. It's easy to hit. You run out of data quickly.
You can cover everybody.
Yeah. We're dropping 30 to 35,000 postcards a month, but it doesn't take long to get to that number when you start adding it at that pace. So there's different ways. We have the guy that taught me how to do this, Eric Brewer's in my market. I wouldn't have been able to start the company that I have without being working for him for a while. So, we're competing for, I don't know. It's not like we have 5 million people here. It's just,
and you two both move a lot of deals too. I feel like there's not even room for anyone else with you two, pumping.
And then there's a bunch of smaller companies that are probably doing somewhere between 4 to 8 deals, and then there's your one-off people. So you add that up on a monthly basis, it's 100 deals a month between all the people in 6 different counties. It gets crazy. So our marketing budget's pretty extensive. We probably spend anywhere from 40 to 50,000 a month, somewhere around like 135 a month in overhead. So there's a lead gen strategy. If that's what you want, inbound has its own strategy, outbound has its own strategy. Honestly, my COO has put all the processes and systems that were stuck up in my head together on paper, and we just try to follow them. And when it's not working, we actually just had a managers meeting on Monday about it, where we're talking about different deals and having some issues with being a little bit lower than what we need to be on our average per deal. And, it really comes down exactly what I told them, is following that process and system. And I was like, all right, so when was the last time we did, if this is the process and we're over here and we're worried about the $2,500 that's out here, if we would have done the process the right way for the resale and the dispo or the acquisition, whatever it may be, does that make up that $2,500? And, I would say yes, but it's all lead gen stuff, is making sure that you are on it as fast as possible. In my
opinion, I got so much to unpack in that.
I know, dude, so much, dude. And there's lots of different ways that we can go. I want to keep it in the vein of the business because we're right there. And then I think we have other stuff to talk about. So one of the things that has impressed me the most about you, bro, is that when I remember first connecting with you at Fuel and you did your presentation, and I can just remember you seeming to have such a great grasp on your systems, your processes, your KPIs. And I know Rick, your COO, plays a big part in that, but you as the owner of the company just seemed to have your shit together when it came to that type of stuff. Talk to the people about, I think in order to be able to scale to the volume that you're at, if you don't have a good understanding of what's going on as far as the numbers in your business, I'm not sure it's even possible to get to the space that you're at. So why is that important to you? Why did you make that a priority? And how has that impacted your business in a positive way?
If you don't know your numbers, you won't ever find your holes. End of story. If you're sailing a ship and the reason that it takes so many crew members is because they all got different jobs to do, and the expectation, and if there's a hole somewhere in that ship, there's people that should notice it if the captain doesn't, you know what I mean? So I can look at my numbers on a weekly, monthly, quarterly basis, and way before we get to painful situations, be able to understand where and how to correct that, and put a little pressure on this side or whatever side needs to be put on to tape up that hole to make it so every part of your business connects to another part of your business. So every department manager, every department head has a responsibility to make sure that lead gen connects to if you have how many leads connects to how many appointments, and how many appointments connects to how many contracts, and everything has a flow to it. And if you're not hitting somewhere, you're going to be able to see that, know it, have those expectations, write them on the wall, and honestly make them visible for everybody on your team. Not to scorn people or put them down when they're not hitting them,
just the standard.
but it gives
accountability.
When you walk by a screen and you're supposed to have, 4 contracts a week, and you have 0, and it's Friday at 10 a.m. And you're telling me that, you don't want to go to the 2 appointments on Saturday, and can we push them out till Monday? I mean, that shouldn't be a conversation.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's the standard of excellence. Kind of just, you need to set it there, and the minute that you allow it to change, and is the minute that every area of your business will stop production, and you just need to be able to see that visually, so that you can go back and run your checks and balances on your processes and systems.
And you're pushing out some big boy numbers from an ad spend and overhead.
Yeah, bro,
comp.
130K a month nut is fucking hefty,
You're
bro.
not playing around, dude. So for that amount of, like, the flip side of what you're saying, I would imagine has to be true too, Eric. Like, knowing your numbers cold like that, forwards and backwards, has to give you the confidence to be able to spend that kind of money, right? To get there, because otherwise you're just, you have to be reckless if you don't know your shit at that point. Yeah.
I mean, there's some headaches that go along with it.
Of course,
as you grow and you adjust, and you can't really have bad months anymore. There's no such thing as a $80,000 month anymore, because that means you're $50,000 in debt.
You're writing a check for 50 grand. Yeah, that's right.
And does it mean that it doesn't happen? And sometimes that you gets pushed into the next month, and you have a big month, or you're playing makeup and different things like that. Of course, that's business. But part of it is exactly what you said, is knowing those numbers, so that if you are projecting to have an $80,000 month because you're trying to jam things in at the end of the month, but you don't want to put that much pressure on your team, you have to plan. You have to, what does that look like? How do we write this ship? There's a lot of different things, and you can look straight back at where you're at and what is missing from your processes and systems in each department, and figure out how to rectify the situation without spending a month trying to figure it out. Where, if you lose 2 weeks in this business in lead gen, I mean, you probably lost a month of income.
Yep.
How real are you with your team, bro? To where with me, like, we've just started to spend a decent amount of money every month. Like, we're probably like 30, nothing crazy. But then, like, when we have a bad month and I can see it coming from, even if we're only making like 40 and like we're halfway through the month, I'm like, shit, like, this is not a good month. Like, so how real are you with your team and everything else?
I'm pretty real with my team about that type of stuff. I think part of it comes from the fact that the business started without a whole bunch of capital. So, we had to know what we were doing and look at those things. And as we added people and expenses changed, I've always been big on really making sure that employees within this business, this industry in general, are taken care of, especially administration staff, the way they would be at WellSpan, or help. If you have somebody sitting at a computer inputting data and going through, why would they stay with you without the benefits of those types of things, when they can go do the same thing for a company that's going to give them a 401k and health benefits and match it, and you pay 50%. So, like, all those things are part of my process, which is why my overhead is high. But with what I kind of went on a tangent there about, but what was the original question? Sorry.
Just talking to them openly about the numbers.
The numbers that we're spending every month. I like to be as raw with them as possible, which is, hey, these are things that we're doing to make your lives better. And we really, I want to invest in you as employees and empower you guys to have the life that you want to live as well, buying rental properties and those types of things. But I I also want to make sure that when we're doing those things, it's advantageous to the company as well.
That's
and you got to keep in mind that, like, at the end of the day, like, I can't do those things for you guys if we're not making money. And if we're having a real crap month, like, hey, it is what it is. We are grinding this week. We're going to figure it out. And there's a few more meetings. There's a few more phone calls. There's a few more texts, not always coming from me, but just like, hey, I really need you to push on lead gen right now. Like, and I'll have that conversation with them. Hey, it is going to be a rough week, but we are going to drive for dollars. We are going to hang door hangers. We are going to do what we need to do to get this back where we need to get it. And hey, man, I know there's a lot on you from my acquisitions agent, but I need you to close around 40, 50% for the rest of the month. And like,
and this is what has to be done.
It's tough, but when it's good, it's good. When it's bad, it's bad. And I think that everybody understands it's in this business. It's the ebbs and flows. There's a roller coaster to it. I'm the first person to reward people for doing well. I'm not a greedy person when it comes to money. So, like, if I can help somebody on my team or put them in a position where they, if we need to get to this number and I need to be like, hey, I'll give everybody a $500 bonus. We need to put 3 more deals on the board to be where we need to be at. And we got 5 days. I know that's pressure. You're putting pressure on the settlement company, your transaction coordinators, everybody feels it. So, yes, it's your job to produce and meet your KPIs, but like, let's put a reward on the back end. My biggest issue is punishment. I know it's a weird word, but when they're not producing, how do you deal with it? That's
a real thing.
I can reward great in striving for goals and meeting goals and putting pressure on the team, but my struggle is sometimes navigating 2-3 weeks worth of not meeting your KPIs. When you have a small team, that losing somebody is painful.
Yeah.
And retraining somebody is painful. So to lose that person in your team messes up your process and systems even more. And now you're 2 or 3 weeks in with headaches, and now you're talking about like getting rid of somebody that you have to put somebody in to fill that spot that's never done it before. It's a headache. It's even more. Now you're looking at another 2 months of trying to figure that out. So there's headaches with it.
Did you guys have a question? I didn't see one of your fingers. All right, sweet. Bro, when did you know you needed a COO? Like, when did you feel that, like, bro, I need someone? Because you sound like me and Jason. Dean is a little bit more organized.
Have you not heard my thought process so far? I mean, like, I can, my organization and like processes and systems, I could walk you through a transaction verbally, and I could tell you why we put the best transaction in the country to you. And you might believe me by the end of the conversation, but getting it down on paper, being somebody that wants to sit and look at numbers and dive into them. Like, I want the report. I want to be able to look, and I needed somebody to be able to take some of the stuff out of my head, put it down on paper. Because if it's in your head, it's just tribal knowledge, really, and it's hard to teach tribal knowledge. And then the other side of that was I wanted to be able to focus on truly like how to grow the company and grow people within the company, and not how many leads came in today.
Yeah.
I just want that report. Like, I don't want to be pushing that pressure on them or sending the email at 3:00 that we need to generate, 4 more appointments that day or, for the next 2 days.
Did it take a while from when you made the hire from the COO to actually see the benefits, let's call it, as a business owner? Because I think sometimes as the owner, we start counting that cost right out of the gate. And I think that title gets like thrown around a lot, COO, but Rick, your guy is like, I think like a legitimate, like a proven operator, came from corporate America. I've had the pleasure of meeting you guys and really kind of talking about your business. Like, he's what I would consider like somebody that actually can meet that title. So that I couldn't have been cheap. And then also there's some runway to get all of this stuff like up and running before you actually see some real results in your business, right? So how did that whole process work for you? And was that a struggle? And did it take time to kind of get all those systems and things in place?
Yeah, I would say comfortability within the business is probably a 3 to 6 month window. There's a lot that you're looking at and doing. I think that when he came in, he first dived into what was something that I needed to put out there to be able to grow the business. Like my mindset was, why do I have a COO for 5 people? Like that doesn't make any sense to me. But the reason I had the COO was because I needed him to be able to bring the other people on so that I could help with the processes and systems and training so that I could grow the business the way that I wanted to. So I had to be able to tell him my vision and tell him, hey, this is, as we move people into these department heads and move into running this part, like I need to make sure that there's a good training manual in place. I need to make sure there's this. So he had probably 3 months of like really work that I'm pretty sure he wanted to throw at me. Like he was like, dude, if I do one more process map, I'm going to punch you. I mean, he did not really, but like, I believe that's kind of how he felt. And then the next 3 months was probably really learning the business and, you know, working backwards from where we wanted to go and how many people it was going to take to do that, how many leads that meant, how many appointments could people take, and really saying, all right, if our goal is to do, you know, 3 million, what does that take? And how do we work back from 3 million to the breakdown of literally how many leads, how many appointments, how many contracts, how many closes, like to how many people, how many can they actually handle a day? So having his ability to do that was a process, but he's still one of those guys that is a big numbers guy. Like he just loves it. He like looks at that and he's like percentages and all this stuff. And I'm like, sometimes like, I think you overdiagnosed that, Rick. Like, I mean, like we don't but it's also very helpful in a lot of times to have such a different mind around than mine, where like I'm risk to reward, go, I'll run through a wall and figure it out. And he's kind of like, hey dude, hit your brakes. You know, this is going to cost you a bunch of money and we haven't really broken down the ROI of what we're bringing back. So all that takes time. I would say 6 months is a good window to get comfortable and have them understanding your business and being able to focus on the operations and really say, all right, this is who we need and this is what we want and this is how we're going to do it. And then I would say it's another 6 to 12 months where you really start to see the measurements of the COO and the KPIs and what they're providing and impact they have, not only your staff, but also making sure that people are hitting their goals. And it's kind of like not a good cop, bad cop situation, but like his responsibility is the operation. So if the operation is failing, I go to him and he needs to he'll let me know what the issue is. And to get to that point, it takes time.
So I got a couple follow-up questions here. A quick shout out to Mike Hambright. 3 of the 4 speakers are speaking at Investor Fuel Live. So that's pretty cool. Coming up pretty soon.
I'm traveling. Sorry, guys. I'll be on a beach somewhere. I'll be on a beach, guys. Sorry, Mike.
Every other month, Jason's on a beach somewhere. So. But I got a kind of a before question and an after question. The before question is, what did it take for you to get to where you're at now? I mean, you're pumping out volume. You've got this big team, all this kind of stuff. What did it take for you to get there? Was this like rocket fuel? You just got there quick? You know, took the fast track there, or was this like a long, hard process to figure this all out?
Yeah, like did you throw a bunch of money on credit cards? I know some people who did that and just bet on themselves and threw down a bunch of marketing money on credit cards and just made it work.
No, I didn't do that. But I honestly was. I mean, it was definitely challenging. We're going into our 5th year in business. You know, I would say that the more overhead we took on, it's very interesting because, you know, there's part of me sometimes where, and I love my team, I love the culture that we built, but there's part of me sometimes is like, we were doing 6 to 8 deals a month with 3 people, and I was, answering phones and, averaging very similar numbers, and sometimes me personally was making more money that quarter than I was with a big team. But the goal is for the team side of it is the longevity. So the grind and the hustle that goes along with what you're doing was no days off. You know what I mean? And I tell people that all the time. If the one thing, starting a business is scary. You got to have faith in yourself. And there's going to be days, even when you've built a great business. I believe there's probably people that own $1 billion businesses that wake up and are like, you know what, screw this shit. Like, this sucks. Like, they're dealing with something that's going on. So I would say that the trajectory for our company was full speed ahead. I didn't have the ability to fail. I didn't have the ability to take a week off. I didn't have the ability to say, I'm not going to go to that appointment. I'm not going to do this, because everything was dollars and cents. And it was, how can I turn something that we paid for into money? And and what does that look like? So the trajectory was doing what I did best, was acquisitions, and learning to be a business owner was the hardest thing, honestly. I mean,
an actual owner.
The transition from hustler to business owner, they're actually exact opposites. They're the characteristics which you need to be a hustler and a grinder is the exact opposite of what you want to bring to the table as a business owner. And I think that it's a glorified idea of looking at it when you're, running a 3-person business and the trajectory looks great and you're making a bunch of money. It's hard. And, my goal in growing the business was step by step to get to the point where I had people that didn't have to kill themselves for me to live a life that they want to live, but that gave me the ability to grow the business, to put them in a position and myself in a position where I could not have to hustle and grind anymore. And which most of that was a mindset change, and a lot of understanding that a good hustler is a shitty leader. And that, you have to, a good hustler is always chasing. A good leader is looking and listening and figuring out different ways and building a vision for growth. And so it wasn't overnight. We continued to grow. Being that it was wholesale and Novation's practically only, I never lost a lot of money in the first 3 years. I didn't really have the ability to, because it was mostly wholesale transactions and Novation deals. So I wasn't losing money on flips. But it grew to now where all those people are necessary to run our business. And it's still every year we get together, we do strategic planning, put a 2, 5, and 10-year goal in place and what that looks like. And, that's just different from, hey, I just got to go get leads and appointments and buy houses. So the trajectory was, we're running, we're having a whole bunch of fun, we're making a whole bunch of money, to, I don't want to do this forever. This is why I wanted to own a business. I could have just been an acquisitions agent. And then a mindset change of, okay, now it's going to cost me money to make money. And people are scared of that. They're 100% scared of that. And I talk to people all the time and I'm like, well, you could have somebody do that and you could pay them to do that. Well, I'm not ready to do that yet. No, you're not ready to do it because you're not willing to risk what you're going to make, and you're never going to be ready if you don't take the chance and put that person in that place, because you'll never get to where you need to be. And that was a mindset change and something that took some time for me to get that ROI and work with people and help grow them and not just grow myself and my own business.
So how hard was it? I know you mentioned you started working with Brewer, learned the business, and then eventually transitioned off. How hard was that transition, and why did you think maybe starting and potentially learning from somebody else was beneficial to you? We get a lot of people that come on. I think the profile of a lot of people watching now are newer and are trying to make that decision of whether do I just go out on my own and do YouTube University and figure it out? Do I work for somebody for a while and learn the ropes? What kind of advice would you give to somebody that's in that position, Erik?
I don't think anybody, I mean, it's tough because I know if I lost my main acquisitions agent, it would be painful. You know, and I was generating pretty much, you know, at that time it was a much smaller company. I was the acquisitions agent. We, you know, great personal friends, and just had some differences and decided to make that change for myself and a lifestyle more like it. You know, I mean, I've lived and breathed the business all the time, 7 days a week. And it was very lucrative for me, but it was also very draining. And I tell people that all the time. Your best acquisitions agents can only operate at that level for so long before they're like, you know what, pay me all the money in the world, but I'm good. I got a family, I got shit I want to do with my life, and I'm not going to do that. So his business has changed dramatically as multiple acquisitions agents. They crush it. And, you know, it was a change for me as well on how I wanted to do things. So with that, I would say I wouldn't ever tell anybody to go and do something without understanding what you're doing. Like it's kind of like learning the ropes. I mean, you didn't pick up I didn't do my first double leg and do it well. You know, it took time and effort in the wrestling room over and over again. You don't pick up a baseball and throw, you know, you just don't. Like, there's nothing in your life that you pick up and you're the best at it. Even at like public speaking, if you like to public speak, it's an art. Like once you really understand public speaking, it's an art. Like, there's ways to make yourself better. So training and that side of it, I think it's really, really good to be around high volume. It's painful to say as a business owner because I know what that looks like. You know, I know what it looks like for me to lose that person if they would go off by themselves and become your competition. But at the same time, I think that there's a lot you learn being around people that are in the business and ever-changing, dealing with different things, being able to navigate transactions, work with sellers, having a team around you that kind of understands the process to get from lead to closing, and some of the headaches that go along with that. So yeah, I mean, my personal opinion is if you have the ability to work with somebody, it's a huge plus to being able to run your own business. If you're just an entrepreneur at heart and you want to go dump a bunch of money into stuff and you're not practiced, understand that, like, I will buy that house that you went to.
Yeah.
Every single time.
That is a good point, bro. Like, I really do this shit, and you're just coming in for fun.
And
that's a very big gap.
It sounds messed up, but I've probably been to 2,000, 5,000. I mean, I don't know how many appointments, but it's been so many appointments. I've had that same conversation and talked about so many different things and dug a little deeper than anybody ever would. I'm not just walking through your house and look at it and spitting out a number. And that's not how I train my people to do it as well. So there's part of that if you go spend your last 20 grand on marketing, understand you're competing with companies that are spending over 100. You know, like and that they're going through a training process and skills, and those people have dealt with those objections and challenges. So just be prepared to be outdone and outworked because they have a KPI.
Take your lumps.
Yeah. They have, so don't expect that to get you where you need to be.
We got a couple things here in the chat. Mr. Pat Hilton always dropping something good here in the chats. When the Deal Champs are streaming live, you best watch. Disliking these streams is like asking Joe Biden to sniff your kids and run your business into the ground. So never know what you're going to get from Pat, but that was a good one there. Scott says, what personal changes have you had to be made to go from a brand new to your production today? What character traits, mindset shifts, etc.?
Good question.
I mean, I think in general, there's an understanding of what dollars going out generate coming in. So understanding how much you spend to what you can get out of that spend is a big start, because, hey, if I spend 10 grand in marketing and I get this, what does it look like if I spend 20? What does it look like if I spend 30? Like, understanding that is a huge part of being able to grow.
And what's the difference between like you actually signing that $30,000 check and being the guy that actually closes the deal, right? Because I think going in, and we've all sat in this acquisitions role, it's one thing when the leads are just coming in. It's another thing when you're writing the check for those leads.
Thing
you
when
know
you
what I'm
gotta
saying?
have
Yeah,
faith
that's
in
not
someone else's skills in order to deliver.
That's right, man.
You're exactly. So there's and that's part of why it's been tough sometimes when you have a really, really strong acquisitions agent, because like there's, through that process of growing and putting somebody in that position, there is, without a shadow of a doubt, another acquisitions agent from another company that is going to perform better in that appointment. It is what it is. They're brand new. They haven't dealt with, when you got somebody that's been doing it for a long time, no matter how much training you have, when someone like you're sitting there and all of a sudden like, something crazy happens that you just unexpected, or they throw some different challenge or objection out at you, you're betting on somebody else. And that is definitely, they're walking around with an open checkbook, writing contracts with, and you're sitting there striking checks so that they can run around with an open checkbook. It's pretty crazy. It's a pretty crazy, look if you take a peek at it. But that's part of it as well. And the mindset change is truly, I mean, personally, it, outside of a leadership and vision mindset, I mean, my mindset that I bring to the table to my team is, and the drive and ambition and where we want to go and how we want to get there, and the work ethic, that has never changed ever. Yep. And I don't think it ever should, because that's, at the end of the day, my team knows, yeah, there's different things that I do as a business owner, but when push comes to shove, I'm the last call. You know what I mean? And we're gonna figure it out. We're gonna make it happen. And I don't think that mindset can change, but I think growing a business, supporting people instead of being the person, really not getting frustrated with failure, and letting people fail forward. Being a teacher, not a model.
Dictator.
Yeah. It's hard to model a conversation outside of what that training period looks like. So when you take yourself out of that appointment and something goes wrong and somebody buys that property for $2,000 more than you, because or for less than you for that matter, because they either did better at the appointment, their ARV they had a higher ARV because they believed they could sell it, and we undervalued the property, or we overdid our renovation list and went too high on reno, and now we're cutting off more than we needed to get the deal done. All that stuff is a opportunity to be better, not and get better as a team. And I think that's where the mindset shift comes from, in my opinion, is be a teacher and a leader, and understand that with that comes failure, and that it hurts sometimes because it's your dollars in the back end, and you still got to write a paycheck for everybody in the business.
That's
and
right.
There's some weight on your shoulders with that side of it. But at the end of the day, I think what you give to your people is what you'll get from your people, if you have the right people in the right seats. So if they know that you'll go through hell for them, a lot of times when push comes to shove, they shine. If you got the right people in the right seats and you
That's a great takeaway right there, bro.
trust their decisions, if they know you'll give to them, they'll give back to you.
And I'm a wholehearted believer that leadership is the key if you want to get anywhere. Like your ability to lead the team now, because it's really only team and vision at this point. Like you aren't learning any other skills once you get to a certain level. Like
Sure.
maybe a little bit more marketing, but it's really leadership
Yeah.
and vision. And that's like all you in order to keep getting to the next level. So yeah, bro,
Yeah.
that's powerful.
No, I agree 100%.
Dino, did you have any questions? I don't want to take up too much more of his time.
Yeah, the last question I had is, with where you're at now, do you find yourself getting the shiny object syndrome where you're looking elsewhere? You're thinking about getting in other types of niches, other types of deals, or are you just laser focused on keeping doing what you're good at right now?
So every now and then I'll take a peek at something. I definitely try to stay in my lane. I feel like every time I step out of it, I fail. Or
You smacked around a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Learning
The
curve,
actual issue is in my personal opinion, is that the amount of energy and time to actually make a shiny object be successful within your business is truly like building another vertical. So whatever you have done from start, plan on putting that same amount of energy and time, because you still have to be the most knowledgeable person. You need to be able to train on it. You need to be able to lead on it. You need to be able to watch people fail on it. You need to be able to like teach on it. So in that situation, the fact of the matter is that is my issue, is I'm not willing to put that much time and commitment into it, because I'm not sure if that's going to work or if it's going to be just a trend that goes away quickly. Outside of coaching, and I don't really do a bunch of it, but like teaching some different stuff to people in the area about novations or, whatever it may be. I'd rather talk about mindset and figuring stuff out than actually coaching somebody.
Yeah.
But, that's just me as an athlete and an individual. But I think everybody gets it. Everybody's like, oh, what's that? But I like to squirrel it and come right back. I don't like to focus a lot of time on it unless I see some, like this new AI stuff. Like a lot of people are jumping into it. I think there's value there. It's not that I don't think there's value there. I just know that like I'm not going to be comfortable spending 20 grand a month on something that I don't know and understand. So I'm willing to pay somebody to teach me, but like I just have to know that the time and commitment to that shiny object is going to be worth the energy, money, and time spent to figure it out. And so I try to stay in my lane, but regretfully, that's hurt me in the rental side. Very, very
here's what I'm going to do. That like 1 minute that you went on when you said, hey, if you're going to launch a new thing, you just make sure you're ready to spend the exact amount of time that you did to build this thing. I'm going to clip that and I'm going to put it on my laptop. And every time I think of myself, like trying to go do something, I'm going to play that, because that was like, that's what we need to hear, dude. Because I think all of us get that stuff, man, where we get really excited about all these things that are going on. And I think we believe in ourselves so much. We have this utmost self-confidence that it's like, fuck it, dude, we've called our shot to get here. Like if we say we're going to do something, we're going to do it. But is it at the detriment of like everything else that we're doing to get us here, dude? And for most of the part, when I've learned, it's really detrimental to the main thing. So I've gotten better, especially the last couple of years, at keeping the main thing, man. That's what's been most important for me. So good advice, bro.
Think about the process. Almost every investor you've ever talked to, like how do they start? Like most of them are wholesalers. And then from wholesale, what do you grow into? Having a few different tools on your belt, but still doing single family housing. And then from single family housing, you're still focused there and you want to add flips. But usually your wholesale drops off then, because you need to be focused. And, that's my issue with construction right now. The more flips that we do, more we take on. It's building a whole new freaking vertical. And if you don't know enough about it, and then from there, a lot of people go to multifamilies. And then from multifamilies, they're going to commercial. But you see the other things dwindle in most cases. There's a few people that have built.
You have to sacrifice it, bro.
That they can purely be.
Nobody's leaving it.
Yeah.
Nobody's leaving it. It has to, you are doing both halfway until the second one gets to a point where it's replaced the first one. And then everybody lets the first one go. And from what I've seen, everybody lets it go.
Great. So it is great cash flow if you can find them. But yes, I agree. It's just, and I'm not really interested in that unless I'm making a big move at this point. But I like everybody else here, we get excited when we hear things and see things. I mean, I'm not against it. I'm just not willing to spend the time and money and energy that it takes to build it a lot of times.
Smart man.
Thank you so much for coming on, bro. Where can people find out more about you? Where can people reach out to you?
You can check me out on Instagram. It's Erik J Latsha. I probably should have put it on here. It would have been a lot easier for you to see, but it's just a J in the middle. HonestHomeSolutions.com is our website. You can always find me on Facebook at Erik Latsha. Pretty much every social media platform, I have something that's just Erik Latsha. There's not too many of that name. So, it makes it easy for me. And you guys can reach out in my DMs. You can, whatever. It doesn't matter. I'm always willing to chat, and I like to hear what's going on and enjoy chatting with people that love real estate and have different things going on that I have no idea about. So I can just at least learn about it and not try to, chase it down and build a lot of energy into it. But so crush it. Anybody out there that's watching these podcasts and or going to events and doing that type of thing, the one thing I would say is only about 3% of the individuals that spend their time doing this actually ever do anything with it. And you can have all the knowledge in the world that you want, and you can listen to every podcast and watch YouTube videos and go to events, but like you got to believe in yourself and have faith and be willing in the beginning. It's going to hurt. It does hurt. It's painful and it's not always fun, but and even as you build a business, there's going to be days that you still hate what you're doing, and you got to handle it and overcome it and be better. So don't take all this stuff and listening to these three guys and chatting with them and hearing what they say. I know and for granted. They're giving you keys so that you don't have to deal with some of the pain and headaches that we had to deal with as we got started. And definitely take all that in and just be better than we were when you started, and actually take the jump and have faith over fear in yourself or whatever it is you believe in. And, you'll figure it out and make it.
Bro, and this is great for any investor too, high level, low level, bro.
Yeah.
There's so much stuff to take away from.
Yep.
Bro, thank you so much for coming on. If you guys
Thanks
are
for having
listening,
me,
please go hit the like and subscribe button. Where is it? Over there? Yeah, over there. Make sure you share it with your friends on Instagram, Facebook, and then hit that like, subscribe, give us a 5-star review. And then if you want to be on our podcast and you think you have a good deal, our biggest deal is what, Dean, 137 that someone's done so far on a wholesale deal?
Yep.
137 grand. Submit your deal to deanrogers.com/podcast. All right, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Erik, thank you so much for coming on. We'll talk to you guys soon.
You're the man, Erik. Thanks, guys.
Take care, guys.